I took this photograph last week, late in the day, my neighborhood, a market I've walked through hundreds of times. All the noise, the motorbike, the smell of banjal on the grill, fresh fish laid out straight from the docks. I know this place the way you know a street you've loved for years. But last week, something stopped me. I was at the end of the street, and it wasn't just the market, it was the light. It was pulling everything toward the back of the frame, all the stalls glowing in the distance. The foreground was kind of dark and heavy. This figure just popped into the frame and then turned away real quick, and the whole chaotic, beautiful mess of it receding into something that it felt almost painted. You know, I've seen this before, not here in Vietnam, but in Venice 400 years ago, and in Hong Kong about 60 years ago. And that's what we're doing today. Welcome back, everyone. Always great to see you and appreciate it very much. First time here, welcome to you. Here we walk the line between painters and photographers, and it turns out that line, it barely exists. Today, we have two men, one city each, 400 years between them, and they were both solving the exact same problem. So come on, let's go take a walk. His real name was Jacopo Robusti, but we know him in the world, and everybody called him Tintoretto. Tintoretto means little dyer. He got this name from his father's workshop because his father was a dyer of all the Venetian fabrics and silks at the time. And Tintoretto used to get the charcoal from the fires in the pots dyeing the fabric and the silk, and he would draw on the walls. He couldn't help himself. But turns out, he was pretty good. His father saw it and pretty much immediately took him to see the most powerful painter in all of Venice, Titian. Then asked him to say, hey, take a look at my son. And Titian looked, and within days, sent him home. So Tintoretto was pretty much on his own, in the shadow of one of the greatest painters of all time, in a city where it was pretty much the most competitive in the world at the time. No teacher, no art patron, just pretty much say, hey, go figure it out. And figure it out he did. And for about 15 years, that pretty much got him nowhere. And then something happened that just tells you everything you need to know about this man. The Scuola Grande di San Rocco. They announced a competition for the ceiling of one of their great meeting halls. Every major artist in the city submitted sketches. But Tintoretto didn't submit a sketch. He basically painted the entire ceiling panel, had it measured, and he knew exactly what he was painting. Then he knew somebody that knew somebody and snuck in the night before and installed it. And when the confraternity and everybody got there the next morning, he stood up and said, I gift this. This is yours. And according to the rules of the Venetian confraternities, you could not refuse a gift. So they gave him the commission, and he spent the next 23 years painting it. The walls, ceilings, stairwells. It is very often called the Sistine Chapel of Venice. That's not a hustle. That's a man that knew his work was right, and he was pretty much willing to bet everything on it. There's one painting in particular that I love of Tintoretto's. It's Tarquino and Lucrezia. I apologize for not showing the full painting here. I'm still trying to figure out this whole YouTube art nudity thing, and it's confusing. But anyway, I'll leave a link to the full painting in the description below. But here we have a painting that's sometimes called the moment of violence. But how did Tintoretto paint it? Not the exact moment, not even the act itself. He paints the instant right before. Pearls falling midair, pillows suspended in motion. Everything poised at the moment of action. The Italians have a word for it, fermo immagine. I'm sure that's not right, but pretty much it means freeze frame. Something just happened or something's about to. That held breath between one moment and the next one. We'll come back to that. Half a world away, a young man received a gift from his father, a Brownie camera. To Fan Ho, that camera was never just a light capturing device. In his words, he said, a window to the world through which he could frame into his own way of seeing it, both in reality and imagination. He walked the streets of Hong Kong pretty much the way Tintoretto walked the streets of Venice. Not as a tourist, not as a documentarian, stating what's there, but as a man in love with a city that was changing faster than he could capture it. He called the streets of Hong Kong his living theater. Van Gogh's photographs look the way they do because of light, not because of his camera. He was famously dismissive about gear. He once said, "I'm a cowboy, one camera's enough." And they didn't look the way they do because of technique either. He once said technique is something everyone can do. If you want to take your photography to a higher level, you must tell something, move something. You must feel it when you make the photograph. What made Van Gogh's photographs, in my opinion, what they were, was his understanding of light and treating light as one of the subjects in his images. He didn't always illuminate his subjects. He sat and waited for the light to do what it was going to do. Found him a spot and waited for it. You can kind of think of it as, he didn't use light as a tool. He used it as one of his leading actors. And from the dark, he painted light. 400 years, same sentence. I got one more man for you. Orson Welles. In 1941, a 26-year-old with little or no experience in motion pictures made Citizen Kane. Some call it still one of the greatest pictures ever made. The usual answer to why is theater. He was a brilliant stage director. I agree with that, but the answer is also incomplete, in my opinion. Welles attended a private school in his younger life where classical art was taught. Rembrandt, Caravaggio, Tintoretto, the masters of light and shadow. And then he made a film that doesn't think like a playwright, thinks like a painter. Look at this frame with me. Two figures, a massive room, almost entirely black. One diagonal shaft of light cutting down from the top, illuminating just enough, withholding everything else. This is Welles thinking like Tintoretto. Darkness is a structure, light is a revelation. And this one. A figure descending toward us on a great staircase. Low angle, we're looking up. He's made monumental by it. Striped light and shadow raking across the steps, kind of like a Tintoretto diagonal. 3 specific Tintoretto moves, one shot. The low worm's eye angle, straight from Tintoretto. The deep cinematic space, darkness as architecture. Tintoretto's entire visual language translated to film. The through line, Tintoretto figured it out in Venice in 1560. Van Gogh did the same thing walking the streets of Hong Kong in 1955. And Welles carried it into the cinema in 1941. And now, it's the camera's turn. So here's something you can do next time you're out with your camera if you feel like it. Just remember a fermo imagine, freeze frame. Don't go looking for that decisive moment, that peak of action, the climax, the thing that's obviously happening. But find that moment just before or just after. I found mine in the alley last week. Kids were playing soccer as I was just walking around. Here's a kid midair, arms thrown wide, ball still rolling. Not the goal, not the kick yet, just the breath right before it. Tintoretto painted it with pearls suspended in midair. Van Gogh found it with 2 kids at the bottom of the edge of a tram line. Welles built a whole scene around the moment just before a man's life changes. Look for that moment. Wait for that breath. And when you find it, you'll know, because you'll feel it before it actually gets there. Well, that wraps this one up this week. I appreciate you being here very much. And this next week, whether you're out with your camera or at home with your brush, as always, let's create something real.